So fellow prego beautiful queens, this one is for you and your bubba. Lots and lots of you have been asking me how to modify, what's safe, what's not safe to do within the realms of your yoga practice. It's a really tricky one, because as with everything in life, we are all so completely different. So there is no one answer that works for everybody. For me, I'm still having quite a relatively dynamic practice. A lot of things I can't do anymore, but still a lot of things I can do. And I think that's, as a pregnant lady who is, building a human, we need to remember how powerful and strong we are. We're not ill. If you're having a healthy, happy pregnancy and you're feeling well, you are safe to continue to modify a practice that you were doing before. So as long as you were practicing prior to getting pregnant, you have a relatively good understanding of your body and how to listen. I think the most important thing when we become pregnant is dropping in. I mean, whenever I teach, if you do my classes anyway, it's not about doing, it's about what can I feel. And I think when we become pregnant, that is times a trillion. So what can I feel? Does this feel right? How does it feel if I do this or that? So there is no one size fits all. Like with everything, it's just about you modifying and listening to your body. But there are, of course, some things that we cannot do that we will need to modify within practice. And that is what I wanted to talk to you about today. So if you've been practicing yoga for a while before becoming pregnant and you're having a healthy pregnancy, then it's fine to continue for as long as it feels good within your regular practice. I know lots of pregnant ladies that still practice with me and modify, and obviously now I'm teaching, there's a lot of things I can't show, there's a lot of things I can't do. One of the first things you'll find when you get pregnant is obviously you don't want to lie on your tummy anymore. Your belly is your baby's home. Initially in the first stage of pregnancy, in the first trimester, it's not dangerous to lie on your tummy, but it's quite good to get into the practice of just not coming onto your belly, because you want to think about really creating space for baby. Often, a lot of the time in a yoga class, people will be brought down onto their bellies to take vinyasas, that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you a couple of really easy ways to modify, depending on the day, what your energy and what your body is feeling like. So for example, I'm going to have a little look at some vinyasas that we can take. I think what's really important is what feels really good is kind of liquid movements of the spine and movement and fluidity. Think about the pregnant body becoming much more fluid. The fluids in our body increase by up to 50%, blood and all the liquid amniotic fluid that's housing babies. So us feminine women anyway, we're quite liquid beings, and then this is times like by 50%. So maintaining a liquidity to the practice is really key, in my opinion. So if you're in a class where your yoga teacher is asking you to come down onto the tummy and take Cobra, there's a couple of things you can do that I give to my students. So one of them, if your energy is a bit low, you might just simply kind of play with swaying forwards and back. This can be really nice, just slow liquid movements of the spine. And so if people are coming down, they're taking a couple of Cobras on their belly, you might just kind of roll around here, see how this feels. If you're having one of the days where you're feeling a little bit stronger, and you want to kind of still work on a little bit of strength, you might come forwards and take a little mini press up, just a little one. Good, then press back up and curl back. And coming forwards. And just do that a couple of times until the class kind of rejoins you and you can continue with them. Another thing, and this is my favourite personally, again, it's going to really depend on what's going on for your body. So try all of these different options, and then use the one that works for you on the day. My favourite one is to curl up into cat pose. To draw the shoulder blades in, let the elbows bend, and then just roll really slowly forwards into a little mini back bend. From here, there's a really subtle sense of just lengthening, lifting, and again, there can be movement here. It doesn't need to be rigid, little side to side wiggles. And then exhaling, reaching down to lift you all the way back up. And you can take it to down dog from there. So just feeling your way in with all of this stuff. But that's often one thing where people get lost initially when they first start practicing and they're pregnant, is when the yoga teacher brings people down with the tummies, what on earth do I do? So that's a couple of ideas for you in terms of the vinyasa. As general rule of thumb, if you weren't doing something before you became pregnant, so for example, if you didn't have a headstand or a handstand or a pincha mayurasana or forearm balance steadily and repeatedly before you became pregnant, pregnancy is not the time to learn. Right? It's not the time to be like, oh, actually I'm going to really try and nail my handstand. So as a general rule of thumb, inversions, if you were doing them before, for me I've been training handstand intensively for many years, so therefore it still feels good for me to handstand. The good thing is I know how to fall. Yeah, so I know how to fall really safely. I will never go over onto my back, it just won't happen. So I know that I'm really safe, but most people avoid kind of kicking up into inversions unless you are already doing that. And again, that's your call. Or make sure you use a wall and work with a teacher if you're working with inversions. It's a whole huge topic, so I'm going to save that for another video, I think, because there's so much to think about, and it's such a hot topic that I'm going to talk about that separately, I think. Other things to consider is you don't want to be twisting and compressing into the belly, so you're going to avoid any kind of crunchy core work. And also for me now, what you want to really try and avoid is creating any excess pressure into the abdominal wall. This can create a diastasis recti, which is abdominal separation, which is a natural thing, but it can get worse when we kind of do a lot of compressing into the core and exercise. So if a teacher, much like I do in the classes that I teach, if someone's bringing you onto the back, really allow yourself to hold onto the thighs to bring you down. And you might even, rather than do that, is take that little, just a roll to the side. So that's going to take all of the compression out to come onto your back. Okay, you don't want to be sitting up from here or trying to do any sit-ups at all in that way. What else did I want to share with you? So twisting is the other thing. So we don't want to deeply twist, and again, that compressing everything, you always want to find space for baby, space for belly. So when it comes to twisting, if a teacher is teaching a deep twist, for example, Half Lord of the Fishes, you will simply move in the other direction. So rather than twisting towards the leg, which eventually when you're like me in the third trimester, ain't gonna happen anyway, so you twist the other direction. That feels really nice, and also lifting up away, can feel really nice through the side of the body. So always keeping the twists open. You'll be avoiding anything where you're kind of twisting towards the leg. Again, you can just open the twist out. So always sort of having that exploration of where can I find the space for baby, where can I find the space for my belly, never kind of crunching in. Again, when you get to the sort of mid-second trimester, third trimester like me, a forward fold is like the hardest thing ever. For me, put me in a handstand any day, but ask me to forward fold, I'm like, done, because it's just all belly. So when it comes to sort of seated forward folds, you'll probably have quite a good generous bend in the knees. You don't want to overly pull on the ligaments here. And a forward fold, you don't want to be taking it to your fullest expression of a forward fold. When we're pregnant, a hormone called relaxin starts to make our joints a little bit more lax to prepare for birth. So the joints, especially around our pelvis, become much more lax, much more malleable. So we can easily overstretch and we feel a little bit less sensation. So take it to 60, 70, maximum 80% of your natural flexibility. And again, I'm much more of a fan of moving and flowing. So if a teacher is going to teach Paschimottanasana with the legs straight, you're going to know, if you can see me, I cannot get anywhere. So for me, hip distance apart becomes about here now. Same when I'm in a standing forward fold. My feet are going to be wider than my hips as I fold. Also, I might find often that I want to be in a supported forward fold. So my elbows are just above my knees. I'll show you that from the side. Elbows are just above the knees. Lower back is in its natural state. So
If you have got any tenderness around the sacrum, it's a place that gets really tender, then you just allow yourself, see if that doesn't feel good, then this is an option for you. The last thing I want to talk about on this video, and I will do more, and please give me a shout if there's anything that you need to know or want to know, and I'll try and answer your questions. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was jumping, vinyasas. Again, if it's not something that you were doing before you became pregnant, then you're definitely going to not want to be doing it now, especially in the first trimester. As a general rule of thumb, even when I was in my first 3 months of pregnancy, I really took it easy on jumping, inverting. I was super gentle. I did it 10% of the amount that I would normally do it until I kind of knew that everything was in a more stable place in terms of my pregnancy. And then second trimester, if you had a strong kind of float forwards, jump back, by all means, if that still feels good, stay with it. But you'll probably find as time goes on, you feel a bit heavier, a bit clunkier, and you want to start to step. What I find is almost impossible again, it's that compression in the hip. So when you're stepping forwards, you'll probably want to kind of go to the outer kind of edges of the hands. People will be instructing knee to nose and all that kind of thing. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to swing your knee out to the side to find a little bit more space. So again, it becomes quite intuitive if you allow yourself to trust. I think that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. What I'm going to do, I promise, is put together a really nice flow for my preggo ladies. A relatively dynamic one that you can do that can feel good, which has all of the modifications in, so you can kind of have a good practice to get into. I hope this is helpful. Give me a shout if you have any questions. Thank you.